Here we go with homework number 3, chapter 10. Stated differently, chapter 10, homework number 3. To work on this problem, we will enlist the assistance of Excel. So we're going to do a scenario analysis and a sensitivity analysis. Remember that a scenario analysis typically involves 3 situations: a likely case, which is your base case; a best case, where whatever can go right does go right. That means unit sales are higher, or prices per unit are higher, and or cost of goods sold, variable cost per unit is lower, fixed cost lower, the amount of equipment, property, plant, and equipment you need lower. So your revenues are higher and your expenses are lower under best case. Flip that for worst case. Your unit sales fall, your price per unit falls, your cost per unit goes up, you need more property, plant, and equipment, more overhead, or more and more working capital. So, our base case involves capital spending of $950,000, okay, and it's a 4-year project, $100,000 in working capital. So CF0 is the $950,000 plus the $100,000. So $1,050,000, and that's a negative number. Okay. Now, our depreciation is our $950,000 divided by 4 years, straight line, no salvage value. So it's $237,500. So let's do our sales. So our sales are 200 units per year times $18,500 per unit. So our sales are $3,700,000. Variable cost $14,000 per unit. So that would be 200 units times $14,000 per unit. So again, be sure to look up here at the formula bar to see where these numbers are coming from. So our gross profit is our sales minus our cost of goods sold. Our fixed overhead is listed at $185,000. Our depreciation is the $950,000 divided by 4. Our EBIT is our gross profit minus our fixed overhead minus our depreciation. So that's $477,500. Our taxes are 35%. And our operating cash flow, as you can see here, is B17, which is our EBIT, plus B16, which is our depreciation, minus B18, which is our taxes. So here's our operating cash flow. So CF0 is plus minus, let's go ahead and carry that out. All right, so we're going to use Excel to answer these questions, and so we're going to do our net present value. So using the NPV function, okay, we have to lay out the cash flows like this. Here's our first cash flow, or CF0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we grabbed B19, which is our OCF, and we anchored it. Okay, the way you anchor that is you go between B and 19, and then you hit the F4 key. Sometimes you have to hit function F4 or Alt F4. All right, so we anchored that. Okay, so we go here and we put equals NPV, and the 15% is your discount rate. Okay, and then you put in the cash flows, which is E24 through H24, and then add in the negative CF0. I'm not sure why we have to do it that way, but you cannot include this up front. You get a wrong answer, it pushes all these numbers out. So Your cash flows are E24 to H24, which is this to this, and then plus this present value here, which is a present value because this is CF0, and you get 514,000. Now what you could do is hit CF0 on your calculator to double check. CF0 is equal to 1,050,000 plus minus. Enter down arrow. CO1 is 547,875. Enter down arrow. FO1 is 4. Enter down arrow. NPV I equals 15. Enter down arrow and compute, and you should get this. Then here's your IRR function. IRR D24. Let's see. Here are your cash flows. So you put your cash flows in here, and then you're required to put a guess. I always use 10%. So it's 0.1 for 10%, and you'll get 3764 using the cash flow keys. Simply IRR compute. Now let's look at the best case scenario. Under the best case scenario, the number of units goes up 15%, and the price per unit goes up 15%. Now the problem will tell you, should tell you, what your best case scenario, what to adjust. In this case, we're going to adjust the units and the price. Our cost of goods sold, so the units go up 15% and the cost goes down 15%. So you multiply the 14,000 times 0.85. Remember, the cost, the number of units has to be the same as your sales calculation. The number of units stays the same for you. Has to be the same. So your gross profit is your sales minus cost of goods sold. Your fixed overhead goes down by 15%. Your 950,000 goes down by 15%, so your depreciation goes down. So your EBIT is your gross profit less your fixed overhead less your depreciation. Your taxes are still 35%, and your operating cash flow is your EBIT of 1,797,125 plus your depreciation of 201,875 minus your taxes of 628,994, $1,370,006. Your initial outflow goes down 15%. Okay, so your CF0. So under the best case, same formula. Why do these keep changing? Boom. Okay, so here are your operating cash flows. Here's your outflow. NPV I equals, so 15% goes here, 0.15, and then your positive cash flows go in here, and then add in your negative cash flow here, and you get $3,018,838. So CF0 equals 892,500 plus minus. CO1, enter down arrow. CO1 1370,006, enter down arrow. FO1 equals 4, enter down arrow. NPV I equals 15, enter down arrow and compute, and you should get this. IRR compute, and you should get this. Under the worst case scenario, your number of units goes down and your base case price per unit goes down. Your number of units goes down. It's got to be the same as your sales number of units, but the cost per unit goes up. Therefore, your gross profit is going down. It's a negative number. You have these fixed overhead is 15% higher than it was under your likely case. Your 950,000 goes up 15% divided by 4, so your depreciation goes up. Here's your EBIT, and your EBIT is a negative number, so you can save taxes. Multiply that negative number times your tax rate, and you get your taxes. And your operating cash flow is your EBIT plus your depreciation minus your taxes, which is minus a negative 84,000. Same formulas, folks. Your initial outflow is going to be the 1,050,000 times 1.15, your total goes up 15%. And when you put all this in, here's your cash outflow, your 4 years of operating cash flows. And you do not get an internal rate of return, but you do get a negative $1,447,693 as your net present value. So you're destroying value here. All right, so that is the scenario analysis. Now let's look at the sensitivity analysis. So with a sensitivity analysis, we're only going to vary one item at a time. And what we've chosen to vary will be sales price, cost of goods sold. Okay, those are the two items we're going to look at: sales price and cost of goods sold. So our likely case looks the same as it does on the previous page. Okay, and so here's our likely net present value. Here are the cash flows. We already did that. Same as here. Likely NPV 514,171, NPV 514,171, internal rate of return 37.64, internal rate of return 37.64. Now, let us vary just the sales price. Okay, so we're going to take 200 units times 18,500 times 1.15. So we're going to increase our price by 15%. Okay, that's the only thing that changes from our base case. So our gross profit goes up because our revenue went up, our sales went up. Our fixed overhead stays the same, our depreciation stays the same. Didn't want to do that. Let's go ahead and merge that. Here we go. Okay, so I hope you all can see these numbers. Yeah, and so our taxes are higher because our EBIT is higher and our operating cash flow is higher. So the only thing that changes here is the sales price, and this is what happens to our operating cash flow. And so the net present value under the best case, or just adjusting our sales price, goes to 1,544,000. So here's the cash flow. Okay. Notice that the outflow stays the same the whole time. We're not messing with that at all. The only thing we're changing in the best case is our sales price goes up. Now let's go to sales price goes down. 18,500 times 0.85 times 200 units. And notice our cost of goods sold, everything else, let's see, stays the same. Our depreciation, so all these numbers in here stay the same. The only thing that changes is our sales price. And of course, things that our cost of goods sold will change, our gross profit will change because our sales changed. Okay? So in the worst case, all we change is our sales price. It goes down 15%, and that flows through to the EBIT. And here's our operating cash flow, which is EBIT plus depreciation minus our negative taxes. Okay? So there's our cash flow. And so, so here's what happens when we lower our sales price. We have a negative net present value because our cash flow is 187,125, and our outflow, so here's our cash inflows, our operating cash flows, and our outflows $1 million, and that is a negative number with a negative internal rate of return. All right, now let's look at cost of goods sold. So this sales stay the same. Everything here stays the same. The only thing that's going to change from our likely case is our cost of goods sold, in the best case, goes down 15%. Same number of units, only our cost of goods sold goes from $14,000 per unit down 15%. Okay? So our sales minus our cost of goods sold, which are now lower, okay, by $420,000, goes up by $420,000. Overhead stays the same, blah, blah, blah. Here's our new operating cash flow. And here is our net present value. Let's see. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. So here's our net present value. When our cost of goods sold goes down 15%, our net present value more than doubles. Our internal rate of return slightly less than doubles. Here's the cash flow that it captures right there. Okay. Once again, the outflows stay the same. What changes are the cash flows here. Then under worst case, sales the same, cost of goods sold goes up 15%. So gross profit, so if cost of goods sold goes up, then our gross profit is going to go down. Okay? So sales minus our higher cost of goods sold equals our new gross profit. Fixed overhead stays the same, depreciation stays the same. EBIT is gross profit less fixed overhead, less depreciation. Okay? There's our taxes on this lower EBIT. And our operating cash flow is our EBIT plus our depreciation minus our taxes. Okay? And so outflow is the same. We're going to grab this operating cash flow here, input these numbers. Here's our net present value. So our operating cash flow is not adequate to offset the $1 million outflow on at the first of the year. And what we see is, whoops, I don't want to do that, equals sum. Let's see how much we're bringing in. We're bringing in $1,100,000, which is more than $1,050,000, but because these numbers are spread out over 4 years, when you take time value money into consideration with a 15% discount rate, it's a negative number. So our net present value is negative, and our internal rate of return is not negative, but it is below our 15% discount rate. Okay? So we still have a positive internal rate of return, but it's far below 15%, so we wouldn't do this project. All right, I hope this helps. That's the sensitivity analysis and scenario analysis. I will post the spreadsheet so you can see all of the formulas that I used, and that is it for now. We are finished with chapter 10, and we'll move on to chapter 11, the last chapter in this course. Peace out. Shalom.